clear of the closing doors, please.
Oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, no, this is not a dream. This is real life. The New York Mets have won a series. It took 3 weeks. We watched this team go through one of the worst stretches in their seemingly last 10 years, but the Mets have done it, and this is it, guys. The jersey goes back on. Yes, that is right. The Mets gray road jersey goes back on Tony Metro as the Mets take the series with Milwaukee. They win a thrilling, tight nip and tuck game with the Brewers tonight by a final score of 3-2. Wow, that one was tough. Down to the very last out. The Mets getting maybe the benefit of a call there from the reviewed play as Terrence throws out Christian Yelich at second on the would have been stolen base that would have put the tying run in scoring position with 1 out and Edwin Diaz on the mound, but they get the final 2 outs. They get the benefit of the call there. A strong 6 2/3 from David Peterson, and a great performance from Ryan Stanek as he gets 4 outs in this game, and the Mets take the series. Guys, all right, I think that's good with cooling the gang there. What is up? I am Tony Metro. Welcome to the stream. If you guys are new, I do daily Mets content here on my channel. We do a Mets recap after every single Mets game. Be sure to subscribe if you are not already. Please give this video a like. Really appreciate it. Goes a long way toward helping the channel. And if you want to follow me on any of my other platforms, you could do that. TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Links to all of those are down in the description below. And if you want to call in and be a part of this live show right now, go to my Discord. Link for that is also in this video's description, and I will plug you in when we are ready to start taking phone calls. But my goodness, what a win for the Mets. Awesome win. Let me give some shouts in the chat first real quick. Nico popping off. He is in my Discord. Nico is always tuned into my streams as well. Oh my God, we won a series. This is a moment in history. Yeah, it feels like it based on how the Mets have been playing for the last month almost. So that is why I had to tune up some Cool in the Gang celebration for this nice series win. Hopefully this is finally the Mets rounding that corner, a turning point for this team. We will see though. Mets talk with Hayden, huge series win. Let's go Mets. Big dub LFGM. What's up Hayden? Appreciate you hopping in here. Mets talk with Hayden and I used to be on Mets Weekly's panel. I know he does some work as well, still on his own channel, so be sure to check Mets talk with Hayden out. Great guy there. Robert Lubinacci, we won a series. Oh my God, Robert, how are you feeling, man? I know you were just as distressed as I have been over these last 3 weeks. So how are you feeling after the Mets get a series W, and not just over any ordinary team? The Brewers are a pretty damn good team. They had the best record in baseball coming into this series since May 25th. So this was no pushover team. This was not like the Mets just beat the Marlins and won a series. And look, I had a little fun with the intro. It was a nice series win. I'm not throwing the World Series parade plans all back together quite yet, but hopefully this is one of those small victories that I talked about yesterday after the Mets won the nightcap of that doubleheader. Hopefully this is something they can build off of now and go into the next series over the weekend here with the Yankees, and hopefully put another one together and a strong finish to the heading into the All-Star break. I was going to say heading into the end of the first half, but you know, however you guys want to define it. But yes, nice win for sure. Explosive diarrhea, my man. Holy crap, Springer hit another home run just now. What is the score of that Yankees game? I saw they were trailing earlier. It was like 5-3. Springer had a homer earlier. Oh my God, they're losing 6-5 in the ninth inning. Oh my God. God, the Yankees are down bad right now. Ooh, I would not want to be a Yankees fan at this second. We think we got it as bad as Mets fans. The Yankees are going through it equally as bad as we have been. It is literally a collision of the two crap shows this weekend in the Subway Series. Fortunately, the Mets able to get a series win here. I think the Yankees are on the verge of being swept by the Blue Jays. That will knock them a game behind in the AL East standings. So crazy stuff. Enough about them. Who cares? Second team in New York. Sandman Games, what is up? Oh, an explosive diarrhea. What's up, man? How you doing? Sandman Games, a win streak. Wow, a rare sight. LOL. That is why I opened this stream up with that celebration song. It feels like a long time since I was able to celebrate a series victory for this team. It is the first in 3 weeks for the Mets since they swept the Nationals at Citi Field before they welcomed in the Tampa Bay Rays. So it was a bit of a dry spell for the Mets. They needed a slump buster. They needed a fat chick, and I guess Milwaukee was willing to be that. I've been to Milwaukee, plenty of fat chicks there, trust me on that one. So they'll take it any way they can get it, and hopefully this is them putting something together now. Sandman, he says, let's go Mets. Good bullpen work, 100%. We're going to get to that. RM 1042 always popping in. We win. Yes, sir. Good series W. Appreciate you, RM, being here. And my man, D-Rels. Wow, what is this? Tony D-Rels. What is up, my guy? I don't know. This feeling is so foreign to me. The Mets getting a series win, and again, not over any just old team, not over some slapdick team. This is the Milwaukee Brewers that entered this series with the best record in baseball over the last month and 10 days or so. So this was a nice series W for the Mets. One that was looking like it was going to be another disaster based on how game one went yesterday with Garrett Reed imploding in the 6th inning. But I will take it. D-Rail says just here at the bottom of the chat, Mets 1.5 games back. That's right. Philadelphia off today. So the Mets do gain half a game on the Phillies in the National League East standings. And while I am happy about that, and I am obviously mostly focused on the division, I think it's even more important that the Mets were able to go up a total of 1.5 games on the Brewers by taking this series. The Mets fell a half game behind the Brewers in the wild card standings when they lost game 1 yesterday. Then they won yesterday's night game. That put them a half game up. And now with the win today, they go 1.5 up on Milwaukee. So look, we don't want to settle for the wild card, but it's definitely a very realistic possibility depending on how the rest of this division race goes. So this is a very good start against the Brewers, who I believe the Mets will go see in Milwaukee either in August or maybe in September. So definitely happy about that. Jimmy James C says, I don't know about that overturned call on the stolen base, but I will take it. I was with Keith. So Gary is trying to be like, oh, it looks like the ball got caught and it just is barely nipping his jersey there. And Keith's like, come on, Gary, like, come on. I did not think that was going to get overturned. Somehow the Mets are the beneficiary of that overturned call. I can't believe it. I would be losing my mind too if I was Pat Murphy, the Brewers manager, because that was just way too close, in my opinion, to overturn the call on the field, which was safe. But what a throw from Luis Torrens. What a job by Lindor to just have the tag ready for him right there. Really loved it. Let's see, RM1042 with the super chat. Thank you for the $2, man. I appreciate it. Sharing the love, Tony. This channel is great. Thank you. Yes, please, guys, let all your Met fans know. Let all your family that are Mets fans, let all your friends know that are Mets fans about this channel. Share this link with them. I am at a milestone here, 2,000 subscribers probably in the next day or so. I'm at 1997, so I am just really so happy that all of you guys have joined me here for this journey so far in 2025. I'll get back to the Mets in a second, but real quick, because it's really cool for me. I was the sports anchor here in Lincoln, Nebraska, where I'm living right now, for the last 2 years. And I decided, you know what, I want to kind of go in a different direction. I'm still working on some of those things on the side, but I started this channel many years ago, and I just picked it back up pretty much right during spring training of this year, and the growth has been exponential. So I appreciate all of you guys coming in, tuning into these chats, sharing all your great thoughts on this team, all your feedback for my channel itself. And we are just a few away here from my milestone of 2,000 subscribers. So give it up for yourselves, guys. Thank you so much for being here, and a very nice W and series win for the Mets. Robert says, let's go spank the Yankees now 100%. They are absolutely wearing it right now, on the verge of getting swept by the Blue Jays. We'll see how that one goes, but sometimes you almost want a team not to come in with a chip on their shoulder and slumping that bad. They're almost due, but whatever. Let's just take it as it comes. They're usually always competitive games with the Yankees in the Subway Series. Absol says, that challenge call of the stolen base attempt by Yelich helped us a lot, although I thought he was safe. I'll take it. You take it any way you can get it, man. You can take any way you can get it in this game, man. There are going to be bad breaks for both teams along the way. This home plate umpire, by the way, what the hell, man? He was all over the place, but happy about it, and I'll take that call myself. Absol. Robert Lupinacci, 8-5 now for the Jays. Oh my gosh, wow, the Yankees are down bad. Explosive diarrhea, 2 cats, he does, LOL, and they are salty. You're talking about he's a beast. Oh, Springer, I didn't even see your chat there, 2 cats. That's my bad, man. Let's see, RM1042, we salvaged it, Tony. Yes, sir. Let's go. 2 cats, no matter what explosive, the Astros will always own the Yankees, and ex-Astros like Correa, Springer will always bend them over. Rob, that's kind of like how I feel about Rhys Hoskins, who was very nearly 2 feet away from giving the Brewers a lead in this game if it had not just went a little to the left of the foul pole for a long strike. But that is how I feel about Rhys Hoskins, the way that Yankee fans probably feel about Springer, Correa, Altuve, all of those guys. But anyway, guys, let's get into the game. Let me just make sure there's no pressing things I need to check here in the chat. And guys, if you do want to call in, you can do that. I have my Discord up. Link to that is in the description below. I will have that monitored over here, and if anybody does call in, I will pump you in when I'm ready to take my phone calls. But as you can see, I'm a little distracted, so let me just go back to the chat for a second here. Explosive Diarrhea says, Vientos looks so lost right now. He does. It does not look good for Mark Vientos whatsoever. Got a base hit today, which to me really is only his true first base hit since returning from the IL. The one he had in Pittsburgh on Sunday should have been called an error, or scored an error, but nice to see him get a base hit. But then he has that opportunity there with Soto at third and Alonso at second with 2 outs in the 6th inning, and he takes a called strike 3. He doesn't look right. But you know what? It's not like we have any other options at this point at third base, because I'm sorry, Brett Baty looks just as bad most nights. Tonight, really bad night for Brett Baty, including an error at second base, which, you know, I won't hold against him because obviously he's not a second baseman. He'll probably make that play if he's at third base, but not a great look for Brett Baty either. So let's go over to the actual game here and talk about it now that we got through the chat and our little celebration here. Let's see, any other scores of note? We know Philly is off. The Braves end up losing 2 out of 3 to the Angels. So for whatever reason, the Braves play like dog crap against every other team in baseball except the New York Mets, but we will take it. The Mets gained 2 games on the Braves over this little week series that each team had, so that is good news right there. But let's talk about this game. So scoreless through the first, and then in the bottom of the second, for the second time in 2 days, back-to-back nights, Brandon Nimmo launching a first pitch homer out and over the fence to right field to give the Mets a 1-0 lead. We know David Peterson was on the mound, threw up goose eggs for the first 3 innings. Walks have definitely been a bit of an issue though for David, as in the 4th inning it would come back to haunt him just a little bit, but also some shaky defense, as there is a ball hit up the middle that Brett Baty is literally right in front of, a line drive that just hits off of his glove. That ends up putting 2 runners aboard. The Pirates would end up having first and third with 2 outs. I'm sorry, with 1 out. Was it 2 outs? I think it was with 2 outs. And they get a basically bunt single to score the tying run. I mean, that guy that was hitting, I can't remember his name right now, I think it was Caleb Durbin, just kept chopping ball after ball to the left side and foul. And then he does the exact same thing, except he keeps this one straight in play. I mean, no chance for Vientos to make a play on it, and we are tied. And I'm starting to think in my head, my goodness, it's really going to be that kind of game, huh? Rhys Hoskins is making gold glove plays all over the field, but the Mets are able to come back then in the bottom of the 6th inning. They're able to get a RBI single from Juan Soto that just barely got under the glove of the Brewers second baseman. When he put that off the bat, I put my hands on my head, or I might have slapped my knees. I can't remember, because it looked like a tailor-made double play from our view on television, but gets past the diving second baseman into right field, scoring the go-ahead run. Pitching change, Pete Alonso, first pitch swinging, hits a fastball into left center field off the wall. I will just say this, while I'm happy the Mets got their 2 runs there, I'm happy Soto got the RBI single. I was shocked Soto didn't have a better read on Pete Alonso's double off of the wall. That was clearly not getting caught by anybody. If anyone, maybe a fan over the fence. So it was either going to be a homer or it was going to be a gapper. It hits off the wall. Soto doesn't score. Brandon Nimmo puts up a solid at bat there, but ends up getting rung up on a check swing called down to third base. And then Vientos, as we touched on a few minutes ago, with a really bad at bat. And that kind of felt like a missed opportunity. Yeah, the Mets scored 2 to take the lead, but you had second and third. You had a double from Pete Alonso, and the Mets strand both of those guys with Nimmo and Vientos up. And then it gets even scarier. 7th inning, you send David Peterson back out there. First of all, David Peterson, and we'll get more into him in a second here. First Mets pitcher to complete 6 innings. First starting pitcher to complete 6 innings since David Peterson on June 17th in the very first game of the series down in Atlanta. So, of course, the lone man standing in this rotation outside of Clay Holmes right now is the one that is able to get through 6 innings for the first time in basically 3 weeks for this team. So Peterson goes into the 7th. He gets 2 quick outs, and then a 2-strike, 2-out home run from the 9-hitter. The first home run of the season for this guy. And I'm just it's starting to get really, I'm getting worked up. I'm in a little bit of a lather now because they just missed out on cashing in on more runs for insurance in the 6th inning. The 9-hitter is hitting homers for the Brewers, and it's a 3-2 game. But Ryan Stanek comes in the 8th with 2 outs, and what a performance from Ryan Stanek. Some of the best work that we have seen from him over the last week, when he helped close out part of that game against the Braves in the series finale. I think it was about exactly a week ago from today, and then tonight coming in, getting the final out of the 7th, going 1-2-3 in the 8th, including a strikeout. Fantastic work from Ryan Stanek, as Diaz would take the ball in the 9th, and you guys know the rest from there. Little seeing eye single for Christian Yelich. He tries to steal second. Mets review it. It gets overturned, and the Mets end up getting this one as Diaz closes the door with a strikeout. So put it in the books. It is a nice series W for the New York Mets. I am pumped about it. Let me go to the chat real quick. D-Rel says, bring your brooms tomorrow for the Yankees. Peterson, great. Yeah, great performance from David Peterson, and we're going to get into that here in a second. Absol, Yankees lost again. 4-game sweep by the Jays. Good job, Toronto. Yep, we love to see the Yankees lose on this channel. No love lost for the Bronx Bombers whatsoever. RM 1042, Peterson still struggles in those mid innings. Yeah, so let's talk about it. Let me share my screen with you guys so you can see exactly what I'm looking at over here, but it was a solid performance from David Peterson. One the Mets really needed, because we know there were 2 more injuries today for the Mets pitching staff. Yeah, Dednell Nunez going on the injured list from the bullpen, and it does not sound good. It's an elbow sprain on his right pitching elbow, and Carlos Mendoza said that Tommy John is a possibility for Dednell Nunez. So there's a very realistic possibility that the Mets will once again be without Dednell Nunez for the rest of the season, right as he was starting to look a little bit more like first half 2024 Dednell Nunez. So that is a big blow. And then not maybe as much of a blow in terms of talent and potential return, but the Mets are short on starting pitching, and Paul Blackburn also going on the injured list today with shoulder inflammation. So the Mets very short in their staff. They brought up a handful of random moves once again today. Austin Warren among them, brought into the big league club today. And David Peterson needed to deliver. He needed to give this team some link. Like I said, the last Mets starting pitcher to go a complete 6 innings for this team was David Peterson on June 17th, the series opener down in Atlanta. And it wasn't the prettiest of performances from David Peterson, but overall does enough and does what we have seen him do so many times for this team, and that is just basically bulldog his way through some of those tough middle innings. 6 2/3, gives up 5 hits. It ends up being 1 earned run, 2 total because of the error from Beatty back then in the 4th inning, I believe it was. 3 walks, which has been the issue for Peterson lately. I highlighted that yesterday when we were previewing today's game. Peterson has given up 3 walks now in 4 consecutive starts. The first one down in Atlanta where he worked into the 8th, and then when he got bombed by Philadelphia at Citizens Bank Park, and then the opener of the series with the Pirates last week. He does it again today, but fortunately able to induce a lot of ground balls. The 1 home run he gives up, of course, we know with 2 outs in the 7th, the solo shot. Usually solo shots won't kill you. That one doesn't end up killing him, but obviously made this game a lot closer and a little bit scarier. But overall, really, really solid performance from David Peterson once again. So look, was it the sexiest thing? No. But did Peterson do exactly what the Mets needed in this one? 100%. He gave them length on a day where they just put 2 more guys on the injured list, one of them out of the bullpen, one of them a starter. Whoa there, hold on now, let's not do any of that. All right, here we go. So I mean, look, it was a really, really solid performance that the Mets desperately needed. Season ERA for Peterson on the year now is 3.18. We'll get more into this game, but really quickly, we'll watch these highlights real quick as I continue talking about him. And let me actually take a look at the chat as well and see if anyone's popping off over here. Everyone's very well behaved in these chats, which I do appreciate from you guys. I've never had to boot anybody or have a mod or anything like that. So I do appreciate that from you guys for sure. But let's see. Steph Anderson, hey, I'm learning so much from you. Thanks. I appreciate that, Steph. I'm sure you're a huge Mets fan, and this is a place for all Mets fans, so really appreciate you tuning in. All baseball fans, really, even if you're a Dodgers fan, which, you know, is a really poor life choice, but I mean, you know, we can't all be perfect, so it's okay if you're a Dodgers fan, but just know it's a terrible decision that you've made in your life. But let's see. RM1042 says he gave us Link, but disappointing Link. I wouldn't say disappointing Link. Look, let's be honest, man. It should have only been 1 earned run. He has to throw probably a dozen extra pitches in that 4th inning because everybody's favorite player, Brett Beatty, has that error. So not only is it an unearned run from Peterson in that 4th inning, but he also has to throw at least, I'd say, 10 more pitches to get out of that inning. So I really can't say it was a disappointing length from David Peterson. If you don't have that run come in the 4th, number one, he might only have 1 earned run on his ledger on the solo shot, which he does, but he might even be able to have worked into the 8th inning of this one. So look, if you're going to criticize, and I'm not calling you out, but if anybody is going to be critical of Peterson's performance tonight, the first person you should be pointing the finger at is Brett Beatty. And that's really just because I don't like Brett. No, but that's the truth. That error really, you know, extended that inning and obviously cost the Mets a run there. So the ball didn't even leave the infield that inning. There was a walk, there was an infield single, there was a, you know, the error on Beatty. So I can't get on Peterson for not giving us, you know, a quality length. But Derail says 15 guys on the injured list, most in baseball. Yep, it is crazy. But it's funny, when the Dodgers had all of their injury stints, you know, that's all people could talk about is the Dodgers are so hurt and you can't, you know, expect anything from them right now and yada yada. But when the Mets do it, it's LOL Mets. When the Mets have the most guys on the injured list, it's, oh, you know, we knew they were frauds and this is a totally illegitimate first 2 months and all that crap. But the Mets have been bitten by the injury bug and it has definitely taken its toll on them. But fortunately, one of the lone guys staying healthy right now in David Peterson, able to get the job done for us. So Rod says, feels good to win a series again. Now let's sweep the Yankees. I love that idea. But what I was about to say to you guys is it is not the prettiest of outlooks in terms of starting pitching for the Mets this weekend against the Yankees. So we know Paul Blackburn was supposed to be the starting pitcher on Friday. that is not the case with him going to the injured list. So instead, the Mets are planning to use Justin Hageman as an opener tomorrow. So that is not exactly inspiring a whole lot of confidence in the 4th of July edition of the Subway Series. I believe the other two starters in this series are going to be on Sunday. They have Brandon Waddell set to make a start for the Mets. And on Saturday, I believe it is going to be Austin Warren. I'm sorry, guys. I had it in front of me and now I just can't find it, but I believe it's going to be him. I'm going to go to Wardy because he retweeted it or tweeted something about it. So let's see what he had to say. Here we go. We're coming along, somewhere around here. Okay, so here is the plan. It is going to be Justin Hageman tomorrow, at least as an opener, maybe as the bulk guy. And then on Saturday, we have Frankie Montas. Oh my God, it's Frankie Montas starting on Saturday in the Subway Series. And then game 3, it'll be Brandon Waddell. Okay, so I would never have expected 2 of those 3 names to be making a start for the Mets in 2025. We knew Frankie Montas, but we were thinking it'd be bookended by Sean Manaea and Kodai Senga. Obviously, that's not the case. So the Mets definitely don't have a huge pitching advantage in this series. We won't see Max Fried, which is probably a good thing because we did not hit him very well when we faced the Yankees in the Bronx back in May, but I do believe we will end up facing what's his name, the lefty for the Yankees. I can't think of it right now. I'm all over the place, but anyway, look, so that's what the hand the Mets have been dealt at this point. Hageman, Frankie Montas, and Brandon Waddell. The good news is those guys are getting back. Kodai Senga is basically on the precipice of making a rehab start. He might return before the All-Star break we just learned today. Then you have Sean Manaea, who hopefully is going to make his next start in a Mets big league uniform. So very good chance the Mets see both Sean Manaea and Kodai Senga making starts for this team before they go to the All-Star break, which would obviously just be great. Obviously be a huge boon for this team to no longer have to go with these Hagemans and with these Brandon Waddells. Not saying either of those guys can potentially be helpful at some point down the line, but we cannot consistently have them making starts or being bulk guys for this team like we have for a long time now. So very good news on the injury front. Let me switch over here. We'll go back to this for a second here. Oh, I hate when it does that. I got to change that feature. Every time I switch back and forth, it plays our intro video. But let's see. Robert Lupinacci can't give up a home run to the 9-batter. Yeah, look, I agree. It was not a great pitch. It was a middle fastball, and the guy clobbered it. But at the end of the day, I am happy with 6 2/3 and 2 runs against a Brewers team that is the 4th highest scoring offense in the game right now. And they're doing it without a very big power display. They don't hit a lot of home runs. They have one of the lowest exit velocities, but you saw the way they scored their first run tonight. I mean, the guy just chopped the ball, killed a bunch of worms, and it ends up being an infield single, but it's still a talented offense, still a good roster, even without Christian Yelich and Bryce Terang in the lineup tonight. So I am just happy that Peterson could bulldog his way almost through the 7th inning and on 2 runs, one of them which was no fault of his own, as we know. So I'm pretty happy with the performance from DP tonight. RM1042 says, let's bring up Matt Harvey. Yeah, Matt Harvey is out there doing something. I am happy to see Matt Harvey has returned to Citi Field, and it sounds like he has gotten his life back on the straight and narrow. We know he was involved with that whole death of, I believe his name was Tyler Skeens, if I'm not mistaken, that was on the Angels when Harvey was there. It was an opioid overdose while he was rehabbing from Tommy John, and Harvey was heavily involved in something like that. So I am really happy to see that Matt Harvey, once a shooting star that flamed out and really went down, I think, kind of a bad road there for a while, has since kind of made amends not only with the Mets organization, but more so just in life. So I'm really happy to see that from Matt Harvey, Batman, the Dark Knight, as we used to call him. Doesn't that feel like 3 years ago, man? That was 10 freaking years ago, 2015, when Harvey led the Mets along with the rest of that rotation to the pennant in the National League. But Explosive Diarrhea says, hopefully Montas fixed his flipping pitches issue. Yeah, so if you guys didn't catch it, Frankie Montas told Andy Martino, he who shall not be named, but I did it anyway, that he believes he was tipping his pitches to the Pirates when he got bombed for 5 runs in the first inning on Sunday. He believes that he has corrected that issue and that he is good to go, whatever that means from Frankie Montas. I'm not totally sure, but hopefully that is in fact the case for Frankie Montas, and we'll see what happens, but not going to be easy. I know the Yankees are really having a tough stretch now. They get swept in 4 games by Toronto. They're knocked out of first place in the American League East, but still a pretty good lineup. Not super talented, I don't think, but still a pretty good lineup. So Frankie Montas, Brandon Waddell, and Justin Hageman, the scheduled starters for the Mets this weekend in the Subway Series against the Yankees. We'll see how they fare. Yeah, Red Bear Fox, I'm with you, man. I don't see how anyone can be disappointed with 6 2/3 innings and 1 earned run from David Peterson. I thought it was a great start. It wasn't the sharpest we've seen Peterson. It was kind of a repeat of what we've seen in his previous 3 starts. Again, 3 walks for the 4th consecutive outing for David Peterson, but I don't know how you could be disappointed with 6 2/3. He's just a strike away from getting through the 7th. He gives up the homer to the 9th batter. It sucks, yes, but I thought really strong, nice bounce back performance from Peterson, who wore it the last 2 times out. So I'm pumped about that. Rusty Shackelford, Skaggs. That's right. Tyler Skaggs was the name of that pitcher on the Angels that unfortunately passed away. Thank you for letting me know. I thought Skeens. Yeah, I was thinking Paul Skeens. That's where I got it mixed up. But yeah, that was really sad when that happened. And Harvey was never actually found guilty of any illicit wrongdoing, but he was a part of the entire court hearing and all the logistics. I don't know all the details, but it was obviously a very bad thing for Harvey. Of course, a terrible thing for anyone involved, including, of course, Tyler Skaggs. But yeah, Red Bear Fox, I don't think it was a bad start at all, but RM is standing on business. He says, I'm 100% serious. Tell me what you were disappointed by in Peterson's performance today. Look, again, I know the command wasn't great. He had 3 walks, and he obviously gives up that homer to the 9-hitter, but I thought it was a fine performance. Again, not the sharpest stuff. He couldn't throw that curveball over or that changeup very well for a strike tonight, but he made a couple big pitches when he needed to. So I was personally happy about it. How about getting Rhys Hoskins to ground into a double play in that key inning? Literally 2 pitches after he gives up a 370-foot foul ball that just barely misses, nicking the foul pole and giving the Brewers the lead. So, I was pretty happy, and that's something with Peterson that he has just totally changed about himself in the last couple years in his maturity as a pitcher. If he had given up a foul ball home run like that in the past or not gotten great defense from his team in the past, he'd usually just completely melt down. That is not the case anymore. David Peterson has completely transformed into a solid big league starter. So, meanwhile, Nolan McLean was on the mound today, and he set a career high with strikeouts tonight. He ends up going 5 innings pitched, gives up 7 hits, but 10 strikeouts. He had 2 earned runs. McLean was someone I talked about in a video earlier today that I suggested the Mets scratch from his start today with AAA Syracuse, and the Mets bring up to put into their rotation this weekend for a start against the Yankees. Unfortunately, that is not the case. We now know it's Hageman, Frankie Montas, and Brandon Waddell, so I'm not super pumped about that, but solid performance from him. Ryan Clifford with a 3-run homer and a walk tonight. That's Clifford's 14th home run for Binghamton, and Jesse Winker with an RBI single or RBI double in tonight's game for the Rumble Ponies as well. He goes 1 for 2 with an RBI, scores a run, and draws 2 walks. So, guys, the Mets are getting healthy again. We have Kodai Senga, Sean Manaea, and Jesse Winker all potentially returning before the Mets and the rest of baseball go to the All-Star break. So all really, really great signs on the injury front for sure. And as we've talked about, I believe this team is going to be active at the trade deadline. I think they have a lot of holes to fill. I think you got to get at least 1 legitimate reliever. I'd prefer 2. I think you need a bat for this lineup, and I think you need an innings eater for this rotation. Just a dependable veteran. That guy, in my mind, is like Luis Severino, who I had a video on today on YouTube as well. Severino, if you guys haven't caught it, is on the outs with Oakland, West Sacramento, the Athletics, because he has been critical of the ballpark they've been playing in. They are AAA facilities, as we know. There's no air conditioning. There are small crowds. And Severino publicly commented on it after his home and road splits are about as far off as you could imagine. At home, in 10 starts, has an ERA above 6. On the road, in 7 starts, Sevy's ERA is 2.29. And there's multiple articles that have come out that say the A's, quote, can't wait to trade him. So it leads me to think this is a perfect opportunity for the Mets to jump in with their financial power to potentially take a good or even the entire portion of that contract off the cost-conscious Athletics' hands and not have to pay as much of a premium in terms of prospects. They get a guy that obviously was very successful with the Mets last year, has a great relationship with the team and with the players in this clubhouse. And I think it could be the perfect addition for the Mets in the rotation this year. But that's just me. Sound off in the chat. Who would you guys go with in the rotation? Other options, Mitch Keller. Maybe you could talk about someone like Zach Gallen. There's lots of different guys out there potentially available. I don't know if our stream just went down. Let me take us. Hold on. What's happening here? Okay. We're probably buffering big time. That's what it looks like to me. Hopefully it doesn't look too bad on your guys' end. It's okay for me, but if it is bad, please let me know in the chat so I can make sure I can correct some of that stuff. But let's go over to the chat. Explosive Diarrhea. Nimmo's been on a power surge lately as well. That is 17 homers this year for Brandon Nimmo. Back-to-back nights with a long ball. Love to see it from Nims. Look, Nimmo is a streaky guy. He started really cold this year. He was really cold the second half last year. He has been red hot now for, I would say, probably the last month or so for Brandon Nimmo. So it doesn't seem to matter where you put Brandon Nimmo in this lineup. 2-5 leadoff, he's getting the job done. So Lindor was in there today again at the 2 spot. Starling Marte leading off. Didn't love that at all. I don't think that's a recipe for success moving forward, but I'm all game for experiments. But Nimmo, doesn't seem to matter where you put him. He's just been getting the job done in the batter's box. So stoked about that. Let's see. Explosive Diarrhea says, wait until the Yankees tee off our rotation this week and I'll ask you about Jose Quintana's stat line. Well, the Yankees are probably going to have a good time against this rotation. I hope that's not the case. I really do. But we'll see. We'll see, because it's not pretty with Brandon Waddell, Frankie Montas, and Justin Hageman being the Mets starters. Fortunately, the job by Peterson today soaks up most of this game. You get 4 outs from Ryan Stanek, 3 from Diaz, which unfortunately probably does mean that Diaz is unavailable tomorrow if we're being real about it. This is only the second time this year that Edwin Diaz has gone on back-to-back days. So I think it's clear-cut case as possible that Edwin Diaz is not available out of the Mets bullpen tomorrow, and it would lead me to think that Ryan Stanek is not either after going for 4 outs in tonight's ball game. So if it is another close game tomorrow, like it seems the only way the Mets can win lately is in a 3-2 or 4-2 ball game, it's probably going to have to be Reed Garrett, and I don't know if I can take that. I don't know if my little heart can take that. It's going to be really tough if that is how close a game it is and the Mets have to go to Reed Garrett. But Rod says, also so happy with Nimmo stepping up and being the guy to drive in all the runs this series. Huge series for Nimmo. The grand slam yesterday, the solo shot today, and it was looking like for a while there that the Mets offense was going back into a lull, and really for the most part it wasn't a super impressive performance. They only have 8 hits in this one. They score 3 runs. They get the RBI single from Soto, Pete with the RBI double, but then it was Nimmo who struck out. It was a pretty solid at bat. He competed there in the bottom of the 6th inning, but ends up striking out. And then Vientos coming up short. Beatty with another hitless game in this one. A couple real just ugly strikeouts to go with his error in the field. I am so done with Brett Beatty, man. I'm so sick of it. And I know a lot of people are more fed up with Mark Vientos, but at least I've seen Mark Vientos do it at the big league level for nearly a full season. Live up to the hype that we had for Mark Vientos as a power hitting corner infielder for this team. But I've never seen that from Brett Beatty. None of us have. And for whatever reason, people want to give the benefit of the doubt more to Brett Beatty than they do to Mark Vientos. And I just will never understand that. I don't think Beatty has any trade value whatsoever outside of just basically being a hopeful lottery ticket that he turns it around in a new setting. But with Mark Vientos, I think that's a guy that other teams would be like, oh, yeah, we will take him. That dude just clubbed 27 home runs, including some real clutch ones in the playoffs. Hell yeah, I want Mark Vientos as my third baseman. But anyway, I digress. Let's see. Explosive diarrhea, Red Bear. Reality is that's the stat line. I don't know. Okay. You guys are having a little chat here. I see. Okay. I don't know. What is the issue between you two here? Red Bear, Fox, explosive diarrhea, play nice. So I know that Quintana and Peterson had similar lines. Is that what you guys are talking about? I mean, Quintana got a little betrayed by his defense as well. You saw it on the SNY broadcast. It looked like he was kind of chirping at his second baseman there for being in a different spot on the infield than he would have liked him to be. But I don't know. I don't know what the overall, what the backstory of that ended up being, because we know that the positioning comes from the dugout. You know, the team tells him where to go and play, but maybe he was not in the right spot, and that's why Jose Quintana was barking at him after that. But Quintana has been really solid for the Brewers this year. Would have been a perfect signing for the Mets, and you know, he was available deep into spring training, but obviously the Mets decided they were gonna just roll with Justin Hageman and Brandon Waddell in the middle of July. So you know, it happens. I guess it's fine. Let's see. Rod says the idea to bring up two rookies and their debut be on the Subway Series is a recipe for disaster. Also, I have a list of Mets players that I think should be gone. I want to hear your list. Tell me these Mets players you think that should be gone. I have a feeling we're going to be in lockstep on that one. But yeah, I agree. It's probably not ideal for your debut to be on 4th of July weekend in the Subway Series against the Yankees. But if there's one example that I'd like to give you, and I think it could be an open and shut case after I tell you this, Jacob deGrom. Jacob deGrom debuted in the Subway Series against the Yankees, and at that time was not really a highly regarded pitching prospect. I mean, there was a little hype of him. He was probably overshadowed by Matt Harvey and Noah Syndergaard and Zach Wheeler coming back from Tommy John surgery and Steven Matz. But Jacob deGrom debuted against the Yankees, and that turned out pretty good. Now, to be fair, Jacob deGrom is, you know, in the upper echelon of starting pitchers of this generation. So I don't think there was anything that could throw him off his game. But at that time, he was just a rookie. So again, I don't think Brandon Sproat or Nolan McLean or Jonah Tong are going to turn into Jacob deGrom. So the story is different. But I'm just saying, it's happened before. So let me hear your list of who you want God, Rod. Explosive diarrhea, I'll still take him on our team versus our rotation. Just look at who we got starting versus the Yankees. So you're saying you would like I would take Jose Quintana in a second to pitch for the Mets this weekend against the Yankees over what we are throwing out there. Ghost of Maiden's Peak. What is up, my man? Rod, the Mets will turn around the Yankees season. It's so predictable. Yankees on a 6-game losing streak playing the Mets. Yeah, we ain't winning this series. No, come on, man. We've been full of good vibes this whole stream, Ghost, and you're coming in with that crap? Come on, man. I'm going to boot you. No, I'm just kidding. I hope that's not the case. I really hope that is not the case, because the Mets need to start stacking some series wins here now. I mean, nice to get off the schneid finally and get one this week against the Brewers, but they've got to continue now. You can't now go get swept by the Yankees or lose 2 out of 3 to the Yankees, or, you know, if you lose 2 out of 3, is it the end of the world? No, the Mets then have the Orioles, then they travel to Kansas City and they'll take on the Royals. So opportunities there, both teams severely underachieving this year. But how nice would it be to take 2 out of 3, split the Subway Series for the year with the Yankees, and then go win 2 out of 3 again against the Orioles, and hopefully even another 2 out of 3 against the Royals on the road. Thinking a little far ahead, but let's stay positive now. They got the series dub tonight against the Brewers team that is probably as good or better than the Yankees, and clearly are better, in my opinion, than the Orioles and then the Kansas City Royals. So I'm not getting my hopes up, Tony. Come on, man. Come on. Positive vibe. Do I need to play Cool in the Gang again? I'm going to play a little Cool in the Gang again. This will get you going. Hold on now. Yahoo! Come on. If you can't dance to this song, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, you got to be a miserable SOB. Come on. Cool in the gang. Yeah, yeah. Come on. All right. Anyway. Yeah, look, this is the first step. Like I said, small victories. Baby steps. You got to learn to crawl before you can walk. You got to walk before you can jog, and jog before you can go run a marathon. So hopefully this is the first baby step for the Mets to getting back in the right direction. It's a nice series win. I think it really is important in terms of looking way too far into the future as far as a potential wild card race that includes Milwaukee. But it's definitely nice to see the Mets get a dub. I'm not super thrilled with the offense. Despite winning 2 out of 3, I still think the offense has looked pretty lackluster lately. And I understand your fear, Ghost, that the Yankees coming in on a 6-game losing streak could be the perfect catalyst for them against the Mets, given the way we've seen the Mets play over the last 3 weeks. But overall, I'm going to take this for what it is tonight. Nice series dub. Yankees are struggling. Let's try to win 2 out of 3. I know the pitching matchups suck for the Mets, obviously. Let's actually take a look. Oh my God. Did you guys know who the Yankees are pitching tomorrow on the 4th of July? Marcus Stroman is on the mound for the Yankees tomorrow against Justin Hageman. That's right. He's back. Justin Hageman will be taking on Marcus Stroman and his 8.16 ERA this year. Marcus Stroman, who always badmouthed the Mets, always wanted to be a Yankee, insisted on being a Yankee, even through Twitter, and could not crack their rotation this year, defiantly told reporters in spring training, I'm a starting pitcher. I'm a starting pitcher. I will only start, essentially. Well, he barely has pitched for them this year. Just 4 starts and has gotten rocked. An 8.16 ERA in 14 1/3 innings pitched. Look, normally I expect former Mets to come back and just shut the Mets down or hit bombs off of the Mets if they're hitters, but I want blood on this one. I want the Mets lineup to get back to what they are supposed to be and absolutely rock Marcus Earl Stroman. I want him out of the game by the 3rd inning. 6 runs on his ledger. I want the Yankee fans in attendance at Citi Field to be booing so loudly that they are out voicing Mets fans who are cheering and applauding. I want blood. Give me my pound of flesh tomorrow against Marcus Stroman at Citi Field. That's probably not going to happen, is it? Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully. He's been like crap. I mean, he's barely started for them this year. He was injured for a little while. When's the last time? Let's see. Here's his game log. Last time he made a start. Okay, so he just rejoined the rotation. Made his first 3 starts of the year in March, in April. I think he might have started opening day for them, actually. Yeah, March 30th against Milwaukee. That might have been opening day. That wasn't very good. 4 2/3, 3 runs. Made 2 more starts before going on the injured list, and then he just returned last week against Sacramento, the Athletics, and he pitched 5 innings, only gave up 1 run. Okay, and that's a pretty decent Athletics lineup, but let's see. Irv Wall is good win, but you're right, the offense is still a concern. 100% Irv. Yeah, the offense doesn't look great. I have the 7th inning on right now. Beatty has a 2-2 count, and he's about to strike out, I'm pretty sure, if I recall correctly. So, yeah, offense has not been great. Even the Soto base hit looked like a tailor-made double play if they're in traditional defense up the middle there. So it's not been a great look for the offense despite winning the series. Definitely a concern still. Rod Stroman, LMFAO, yeah. Red Bear Fox, I feel you on Severino, but I think they need a more impactful arm in the rotation. They need a legit number 2 type of guy. I mean, I kind of feel that way, but here's also my feeling on it is they need a bat. They need at least 1, probably 2 relievers. And they are supposed to get Kodai Senga and Sean Manaea back. And I know you can't just automatically pencil Sean Manaea back in as the number 2 or even Senga in as the ace of this rotation, given both of their injury histories. But if that does all go to plan, that is a really nice 1-2 with David Peterson, who at times does pitch like an ace. I'm not even going to factor in Clay Holmes because at this point, is he even going to make it throughout the full season as a starting pitcher? I don't know. And honestly, it doesn't look like that at this point. But I think we really need to focus on so many things to improve this team that it can't just be, let's put all of our prospect assets that we're willing to trade this summer at the deadline into getting one of those frontline starting pitchers. And look at what the Dodgers did against us last year, guys. Now, it's a little different because the Dodgers offense is so ridiculous. They just keep coming at you every which way. But they basically punted games against the Mets in the NLCS last year. They punted a game in the World Series last year because they had such a burnt out rotation, such an injury riddled rotation. That bullpen, though, pitched so damn well. They shut us down. They shut the Yankees down. It is all about bullpens come October now. The ace might only end up going 5 or 6 with how high leverage and stressful every single pitch is in October. So while I would love to get an ace, a number 2 for this rotation, I know that offense comes at a premium in the playoffs, and bullpen is what wins you those games in the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th inning beyond. So that's just how I feel about it. I'm not saying you're wrong. I personally, though, would spread the wealth at this year's trade deadline instead of putting all my eggs in the basket of one starting pitcher. But Joe says, Tony, Mets fan since 73, days of Seaver, Kuzman, Matlack. Mets never make it easy, but when we win, there is nothing like it, dude. I couldn't agree anymore, Joe. I mean, the highs are high, the lows are low. I was saying in my Discord here tonight, the Mets love to leave the door open for the opponents, just like tonight when they couldn't cash in those insurance runs in the bottom of the 6th. Top 7. Home run to the 9-hitter who hasn't hit a homer this season. They love to make things interesting and just have us sweating and wringing our hands and taking the Pepto-Bismol to try to shut that agita up. But luckily, they get the win today. And like you said, the highs are high. They feel great. Ghost of Maidens Park says, Mets won't get that at the trade deadline. Or I'm sorry, I missed some up here. Let me go back. Red Bear, Severino's more of a 3 or 4 in the rotation, but the rotation is built with a ton of number 4 starters. Yeah, I hear you. But at the end of the day, you really only go with 3 starters in a playoff matchup anyway, because you have the amount of days off for travel days. Usually teams are only throwing their top 3 starting pitchers anyway. And I would feel my God, I just almost threw up. I would feel fine with a top 3 come a playoff series for the Mets of Kodai Senga, Sean Manaea, and David Peterson. If it's the Manaea we had in the second half last year and it's Kodai Senga pitching like he did this year and what we saw in 2023, if they're all healthy. So again, it's impossible to just assume everything is going to go right because that literally never happens. We've seen it for the last month here with this team. But if all those guys are healthy and going right, I personally feel comfortable with a top 3 in the rotation for a playoff series of Sean Manaea, of Kodai Senga, and David Peterson. And then Clay Holmes maybe is a guy that starts coming out of the pen again for you. Hopefully you've made additions to the bullpen at this year's trade deadline. Yes, would it be nice to get a guy like Sandy Alcantara? Of course. But we need to get guys that can just pitch for us and get us through 162 so we are not seeing names like Hageman and like Brandon Waddell be openers and bulk guys for us like we are about to see this weekend. And that is why I love the idea of someone like a Severino, someone like a Mitch Keller, someone like a not Zach Gallen, the other dude on the Diamondbacks. I can't even think of his name right now. But that's just me. So let's see. Jimmy James C says bottom of Mets lineup is still pretty much automatic outs. Vientos the only one with a hit tonight. Yep, not a great day for the bottom of the lineup. Beatty goes 0 for 3 with a punch out. Terrens 0 for 3, and Tyrone Taylor 0 for 3 with a strikeout as well. It's been tough. for all those guys. We all wanted to see Torrens get more playing time when we sent Francisco Alvarez down, and unfortunately it came at the worst time because Torrens is slumping bad. But let's be honest, as much as we like Luis Torrens, as great as he is behind the plate, making that great throw tonight on the reviewed challenge play that was overturned to nip Yelich at second, this is pretty much who Luis Torrens is. He's a backup catcher for a reason. He will provide you great defense behind the plate, but he's going to hit 215 or 220. That's where he's at right now. So that's unfortunate. Beatty, in my opinion, is a bust. I've been saying it forever, and I can't stand him. And then Tyrone Taylor, I thought was much better than a 216 hitter. I thought he gave us a lot more offensively last year. Maybe it is wearing on him, basically playing every single day lately, with the exception of Jeff McNeil getting some occasional starts in center field. But with Jose Siri down and no timetable for him returning, it's pretty tough, the center field situation for the Mets right now, and that is potentially one of the places where the Mets upgrade and also improve this lineup at the same time. Let's see. I am so blind. Do you guys see me squinting here? Ronald Fridkiss, I've never seen you in here before, man. Welcome in. Chapman would be an excellent bullpen addition, take some pressure off of Diaz. Thank you. Finally, someone speaking my language. Thank you, Ronald Fridkiss. I have been screaming this for a month. I want the Mets to get Aroldis Chapman. Of course, it's all contingent on Boston falling further out of the race. I believe they are in 4th in the American League East. Let me actually share my screen with you guys. You could take a look at it with me. I think I already am, aren't I? American League East. American League East. Yes, I would love to get Aroldis Chapman. When AJ Minter went down, the Mets were essentially left without a lefty in their bullpen. Then you lose Danny Young, and the Mets have done nothing to replace it. Brandon Waddell has been serviceable in the role he has been in, but the Mets would be so benefited by getting a legitimate left-handed reliever. And not just that, a guy that still runs it up to 100, a guy that has closed games in the World Series and throughout October in Aroldis Chapman. He is clearly far and away my #1 trade target at this year's deadline. The Sox, though, 2 games under 500. They are in 4th in the American League East, but they're only 6.5 games behind. And I won't go, I'll do it, fine. I was going to say I won't go look at the American League wildcard standings, but I'll do it real quick. Who is your guys' biggest trade deadline target this summer? For me, it's one of those guys, and like someone like a Chapman, someone like Bednar from Pittsburgh. And then on the position player front, I think there's 2 ways to go about it. You're either targeting center field or you're targeting third base. If you're targeting center field, 2 names, Jaron Duran, also with the Red Sox, though I am not super pumped about Duran. I think he's going to be very expensive. Then there's Byron Buxton. Prices being equal, I'll take Jaron Duran, but I think Byron Buxton will be less expensive from Tampa, from Minnesota, who, in my opinion, should be sellers, but they are a terribly run organization, and they may not be. So here are the American League wildcard standings. Look at that. The Yankees are no longer atop the AL East. They are atop the wildcard standings, but they are actually tied with Tampa Bay in their division as well for that top spot. Angels, surprising, 43 and 43 from the Orange County Angels. Let's go Halos. Get those rally monkeys out. I love to see it, man. I would love to see the Angels make the playoffs with Mike Trout at least one more time. Come on. But Boston is 3 back of the final wild card spot with 2 teams to climb. I don't think they're going to be sellers. As sad and as much as that pains me to say, it just doesn't seem like it in this new format, expanded playoffs that we live in, that they are going to be sellers. And honestly, Minnesota, they're only 4.5 games out themselves. I am shocked to see where Cleveland is right now. I would have imagined you'd flip-flop Minnesota and Cleveland, but I don't know if the Sox or the Twins are sellers at this year's deadline. Look, it only takes 2 to tango, so the Mets just need to find another team or 2 that they can deal with. Maybe it's Chicago, Athletics. There's not a lot to pick from on those rosters. Kansas City, I've suggested Seth Lugo as that middle of the rotation innings eater for this team. Would love to reunite with him if it's not Luis Severino. Cleveland, they're pretty notorious for selling even when they're relatively close and kind of reloading at the same time. So maybe the Guardians will be that team. But unfortunately, who knows what's going to happen? Minnesota and Boston are not far enough out of it where I think they end up selling off on their guys. But Let's see. Rod says, I think the Mets need to get a real DH, Adolis Garcia, a lefty relief pitcher. I have seen your idea of Chapman, but I think we should get someone more long-term, a starter, Sandy Alcantara from Miami. Okay, so who would you go with then, Rod? Who would be your guy as far as a lefty reliever that has more time under contract? Because I think that is exactly what the Mets are going to try to avoid, if I'm being honest. They don't want any more money on the books than they already have going into next year, and I think they want to keep as many of their crown jewel prospects at the deadline as they can. So I feel they're going to be going more for the rentals at this year's deadline. But I do agree, a bat, a bullpen guy, and you could call him a DH. He could be a center fielder. He could be a third baseman. I've suggested Eugenio Suarez. That maybe moves Vientos to DH, and hopefully he figures it out here soon, although I'm not crossing my fingers or holding my breath on that one. Let's see. Red Bear Fox, you're replying, sorry. Uncle Ted, Mets should go get Ryan McMahon. I've talked about Ryan McMahon before. I've looked at his numbers a little more detailed, and I'm not so sure I'm that interested in Ryan McMahon. He plays a slick third base. I'll give him that. But the dude has never had an OPS really sniff 800 in his career. I mean, one time he got close. So these are Ryan McMahon's numbers right here. In 2022, 2021 was probably his best season. Had a 779 OPS. He had 23 bombs that year. That's the most he's ever. No, I'm sorry. He had 24 homers in 2019. Now, let's not forget the Coors Field effect, playing 81 of his games at Coors Field in Denver. So, I mean, I'm not sure how much I believe in all of these numbers, and even looking at them, I'm not terribly impressed. I mean, no season with an 800 OPS or even an OPS plus over 100, a career OPS plus of 92. I mean, look, he's probably an upgrade of what we're getting out of Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos, Ronnie Mauricio, but I don't think he's, number one, enough of an upgrade for what it's going to cost the Mets to try and acquire him. Still got a couple years, I believe, of control with the team. Let's see. He is signed on an extension. It was a 6-year deal that runs through 2027 at $70 million. I don't know what the average annual value is on, is on it. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. But not a bad idea, but definitely not my first choice, Ryan McMahon, to come in and play third base for this team. Let's see. Anyone else with some suggestions? We can go through it right now. Irv Wallace, and wasn't Beatty a first-round pick? What the hell? Yep, Brett Beatty, first-round pick out of high school. That would have been in 2019. That was a Brodie Van Wagenen pick, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check that. If that was a Brodie Van Wagenen pick, I'm going to punch him in the balls if I ever see him in real life. He's the, God, he's the worst. Though he did bring us Edwin Diaz, which is actually turning out to be a really good trade for the Mets, because last I checked, I can't even think of his name right now. Who is the center fielder we traded for him? I know it starts with Jared Kelenic. I don't even think it's in Major League Baseball at this point. He had a little bit of a cup of coffee with the Braves last year. He was with Seattle, and that didn't work out. So it's actually kind of looking like the Mets won the Edwin Diaz trade that we all freaked out about, obviously partly because we took on $125 million in 5 years for Robinson Cano. That sucked, but it kind of looks like the Mets won that trade with the Mariners all those years back. Anyway, Brett Beatty, first-round pick in 2019. So, yes, Brodie Van Wagenen drafted him out of high school in 2019. Shocker. Yeah, he has been a huge disappointment so far this year. Career numbers for Brett Beatty in the big leagues, just since I'm on here, and then I'll go back, take a look at your guys' chat. Here they are right here. For those of you that care about batting average, I personally do. He's hitting .217 in his career over 234 games. He is a .280 on base percentage, a .345 slugging percentage, giving him a .625 OPS and a career 76 OPS plus, aka 24% below league average. If I have to say it once, I will say it again. Brett Beatty is not a Major League Baseball player. He sucks. He's not a second baseman. Shouldn't be playing second base. I would drive him to the airport right now if the Mets got a bag of shiny new practice baseballs. I don't want to see Brett Beatty play for this team anymore. That is all. That is my PSA. That is my TED Talk for the day. We got some people in here, guys. Thank you so much for joining. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. We do daily Mets content here. We do a post-game recap after every single Mets game. And you could also follow me on all of my other platforms, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. Links to all those are in the description below. I say it all the time, but it's not really been popping off with anybody. But if you want to call into the show, you can do that. I'll pump you in here for a live call-in when I'm ready to take phone calls. Anything Mets, anything baseball related, we just chatted up here. So let's see. Uncle Ted said that was about McMahon. Irv says Chapman and Suarez from Arizona at third. Yes, I do like the idea of Eugenio Suarez. Let's take a look real quick at the National League wildcard standings real quick, because as we know, the Mets are now actually competing in that race. So that is hopefully going to change if we can leapfrog the Phillies, but we do go plus 1.5 on the Brewers by winning 2 out of 3 against them, which is obviously a good sign. But Milwaukee 1.5 back of us. San Diego is in the third wild card spot. St. Louis, who got swept by Pittsburgh. I mean, the Pirates may have been a little better than we gave them credit for, I guess, guys. San Francisco hanging in there, although they've been struggling. They are 3-7 in their last 10 games. Then you got Cincinnati, a little bit of a surprise. They are 3 games over 500. Then you have the D-backs at 43-43. They are 3 games back of the final wild card spot, but with 4 teams to climb. So again, just like I said about Boston and about Minnesota, 3 games is not an impossible task to climb when you are, you have 78 games left in the season or something like that, 81 almost, right? Halfway through, a little over. But they do have 4 teams to climb to that final wild card spot. So I don't know if the D-backs are sellers, but if they are, yes, Eugenio Suarez is someone I would definitely want the Mets to pursue. He's a little bit older. He's literally about to turn 34 like tomorrow or something like that. Okay, in like 12 days, 14 days. On July 18th, he'll be 34 years old. But the dude just hits nukes. So far this year, has 26 bombs and 69 RBIs. The on-base percentage, not exactly the best so far this year. Again, these are Eugenio Suarez's numbers. So hopefully you could see everything here that you need to see. But 26 bombs, 69 RBIs. 1 stolen base, if you care about that. No, I'm just kidding. But a 250 average, which is respectable, and it's right in line with his career numbers. 319 OBP this year. Usually does a little better in that department at 330. The slugging is, far and away the best that he's ever done. Like, he has a 555 slugging. His best of his career was 572 back in 2019 with Cincinnati. But overall for his career, he's got a 463 slugging percentage. The OPS is significantly higher this year than it is for his typical career numbers at 793. But look, this is the thing. This is a rental for this year only. The Mets would have him through the end of this season, which, number one, might not make him as expensive, though I think he will still come at a pretty penny, because there's going to be a lot of teams seeking a big bat like that if the D-backs do in fact decide to sell. But I love this idea. You put him at third base. He is still a slightly above average, probably average third baseman, which is, in my opinion, what we already get out of Brett Beatty and Mark Vientos. And you get a bat that transforms this lineup, that you put right behind Pete Alonso for Pete's protection. Soto's got his protection with Pete. Where's Pete's protection? He's never really had it with us. Put Suarez behind Pete Alonso and watch this lineup start to take off, especially if Nimmo keeps hitting the way he does, especially when Jesse Winker comes back. And then the 2 hopefuls, which I'm really not putting a lot of faith in, but that Mark Vientos and Francisco Alvarez start to be a little more representative of what we have seen them do in the past. But again, that one feels a little far-fetched right now. Let me go over here to the chat. Let's see. Rod says, to answer your left-handed pitcher question, just looked it up, liked the idea with Roger Garcia from the Rangers. All right, I'm going to look up Roger Garcia, and then we're going to take a look at his numbers as well. That is a soccer player. I don't know. Are you sure Roger Garcia is his name, or if that's how you spell it? Because I'm going to need you to double check that. Roger Garcia, Rangers. baseball. Robert Garcia. Okay, it's Robert Garcia. All right, I will look at his stats in a second here, but let me finish up here with the chat real quick. Ronald says Drew Gilbert in Syracuse would be worth a look in center field. Yes, Drew Gilbert, the Mets prospect that they got back in the trade. It was either Verlander or it was in the Verlander trade with Houston. I would really like to see that. Not a great batting average, low on base percentage, or good on base percentage, but not hitting a ton of home runs. So I'm not sure how crazy the Mets are about him, but honestly, at this point, how could it be anything worse than what we've been getting from Tyrone Taylor? Defensively, don't know how he grades out Taylor. It's hard to be much better of a defensive center fielder than Tyrone Taylor. But if Drew Gilbert is ready, I am all here for giving him a shot and bringing him up and letting him get some playing time in the outfield, DH, wherever it needs to be. Let's see. Who else? Slightly off, Red Bear Fox, slightly off topic, but has anyone realized the Dodgers have sneaky gotten themselves the best record in baseball? They have the better record than Detroit now. Yes, I did notice that the other day. I think they have 54 wins now at the moment, and they have the best record in baseball. I mean, they should, considering they're cheaters and they defer money, but they have 55 wins, which shockingly, despite how crappy the Mets have been over the last 3 weeks, the Mets are only 5 games behind them in that department. Not that I am concerned about having the best record in baseball at this point. I am just concerned about the Mets getting back to playing good baseball and hopefully getting back to the top of the National League East standings. But good point there, Red Bear Fox. Let's see. Yeah, I don't want Taylor or Siri as our center fielder. They are both horrendous hitters. Yep, Red Bear Fox is no lies detected at all. Game for WAR. Beatty is good. He's got power and a nice swing. Problem is Eric Chavez tells him to aim down on the ball or to create backspin to elevate the ball, which is a myth. That creates weak grounders. Okay, so if that's a myth and you know it, then don't you think other people in baseball and that Brett Beatty would also know it? And Brett Beatty would say, this isn't working and I'm going to change something. I'm sorry. We've seen Brett Beatty go down to AAA and light earth on fire down there. But every time he comes to the big league level, Brett Beatty can't hit the broadside of a barn. So I don't like Eric Chavez as much as the next guy, but I am not going to place the blame on Brett Beatty's failure at the big league level for 3 years now on Eric Chavez. I'm sorry. I just don't see the IQ at the plate with Brett Beatty. I don't think he has a good glove at third base, most certainly not at second base. And personally, I would have no problem shipping him off to just about anywhere in the league. But that's just me. Game for WAR says Beatty was ruined by bad hitting coach and had bad hitting philosophy, kind of like Alvy. I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm buying into that. Let's see. Red Bear Fox says that's not the theory. Idea is to hit half the ball, which does create backspin. Okay. Let's see. Rod, I don't think we need to trade for a center fielder with the prospects we have for that position. Also, it's time for our hitting coach to go. It is long overdue that Eric Chavez sees himself out the door. He should have been fired a long time ago because, again, guys, even in this series win, this was not an impressive offensive display from the Mets, winning 2 out of 3 against Milwaukee. Milwaukee definitely had the pitching advantage. You obviously had Freddie Peralta in game 1 yesterday. Then they had the rookie phenom Mizorowski, who the Mets tagged for 5. And then Jose Quintana, who's just crafty lefty veteran, as we know from his 2 years with the Mets. But yesterday in the game 2 against Mizorowski, the Mets got the grand slam in that inning, mostly thanks to some errors and some just good fortunate bounces, right? And then you get the solo homer from Lindor and 2 more hits from Lindor. So it was basically Lindor's day, Nemo's day, which was kind of catapulted by some shoddy defense and good fortune for the Mets. Game 1, they only scored 2. I know it was Freddie Peralta, but they only had 2 hits in that game. And then today, yeah, they win 3-2, but I mean, it was a solo homer from Nemo. It was a seeing eye single from Juan Soto, and they leave 2 men in scoring position in the bottom of the 6th inning, and they basically make us sweat out the rest of this game. So not an impressive performance by the Mets lineup in this series, despite winning 2 out of 3. I'm happy about it, but I'm not exactly over the moon excited about what we saw from the bats. But let's go over to this guy, Robert Garcia, who I believe it was who suggested it. Rod suggested the Mets take a look at left-handed reliever Robert Garcia, who is currently with the Texas Rangers. Now, he is available through 20 30. He is 27 years old, so I'm not sure that he was like an outstanding prospect in their farm system. I wouldn't imagine he would be if he just debuted recently. Let me get the story on this guy. Debuted in 2023. Okay, so he was never even in their farm system. Began his career with the Marlins at age 27. Then spent the next half of the year with the Nats, and then stuck with the Nats through last year, and now this year is with Texas. And so far this year, 2.97 ERA, over 33 and a third innings pitched, so not too bad. The FIP is okay, 3.33, just a little bit higher than his earned run average. ERA plus 129, a WHIP of 1.14. That is basically the lowest of his career. He had 1.13 in 2023. So it's not a bad idea. He is 27 years old. No, I'm sorry. He is 29 years old, and he is under team control through 2029. So I don't hate it. Let me see his Baseball Savant page and take a look at some of that stuff. The red and blues, as I call them, because I don't know how to read half that crap. That's for nerds. But we know you want red on Baseball Savant's page, right? Pretty good red. Some pretty good 74th percentile pitching run value, 84th percentile in off-speed run value. He's got a four-seam slider changeup mix, throws the four-seam 40% of the time, 31% with the slider and 29% with his changeup. So, look, I'm not the guy that's going to get into, his arm angle's at 26 degrees and he's got 4 inches of rise on his changeup. If the guy gets guys out, then great, get him on the freaking team. Like, I'm that kind of baseball fan. But pretty good numbers out of Garcia. Definitely someone that I think might be one of those kind of more budget-conscious type of acquisitions that David Stearns would be more inclined to pursue, especially considering that he has control through 2028, 29, so 2, 3, 4 more years, something like that. So not a bad suggestion at all there, Rod. But guys, I think that we are going to call it here. We've been going for almost an hour and a half, and it is time that we wrap things up. So good win for the Mets. Good series win for the Mets. This is going to be a terrifying weekend with the Mets starting pitching that is lined up to take on the Yankees again. Justin Hageman tomorrow, Frankie Montas Saturday, and Brandon Waddell on Sunday. So look, let's just hope and pray to the baseball gods that the Yankees continue to stumble and the Mets can get their bats going, because they are going to need to score some runs this weekend if they want to take the second leg of the Subway Series. But guys, I want to thank you all so much for being here, for being a part of this. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much to all the old subscribers. Thank you to the new subscribers. Again, I am just a few away from my milestone of 2,000 subscribers. So thank you so much to all of you guys that have contributed to that and who have tuned in. And let me run through the chat real quick. Thank you to Rod. Thank you to Game for War. Thank you to Red Bear Fox. Thank you to... who else is in here? Jimmy James C. Thank you to Irv Wallace. Thank you to Uncle Ted. Thank you to Ghost of Maiden's Peak. Thank you to Ronald Fredkiss. Thank you to Joe. Thank you to, who else we got here? Irv, I already said Irv. I try to get everybody. Thank you to Explosive Diarrhea. I love that name. Thank you to RM1042, to Rusty Shackelford. Thank you to Robert Lupinacci. Thank you to D-Rails. Thank you to Steph Anderson. Thank you to Absil. Thank you to Sandman Games. And thank you to anybody else that was in here and watching tonight. You guys are awesome. Nice series dub for the Mets. We will have another post-game recap after game 1 of the Subway Series tomorrow. Special 4th of July edition. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave this video a like. I really appreciate it. Helps me a lot. And thank you once again. We'll be back post-game recap after game 1 of the Subway Series tomorrow. Until then, though, I'm Tony Metro. Stay true to the orange and blue.